Masaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassman finds Masaba.
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Same old disappointment once again. 58 years of hurt will become 60 at least by the time we get around to the next World Cup in North America in 2 years' time. But it's just shy of 4 weeks until the season and Sheffield Wednesday's campaign gets underway. And I, for one, cannot wait. Hello and welcome to the WTID podcast. I'm James Mappin, and alongside me to dissect England's 2-1 defeat at the hands of Spain, as well as discussing the goings-on at Hillsborough, is Matt Johnson. Firstly, Matt, how are you, mate? You all right? Have you got over that disappointment of losing another final?
Yeah, I'm not going to change my tune now. I've said I've not been invested in England the entire way through. I'm really fairly sure that will come through tonight in terms of how cut-in and analytical I am about it, because I just, quite simply put, I just don't have the same emotion that I do with Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, look, 3 out of 4 finals lost as a Wednesday fan since 2016. If you want to go to the early 90s, that extends to 5 out of 6, if you include the 2 defeats to Arsenal as well. So, yeah, we should be used to it being a Wednesday fan. If it wasn't for beating Barnsley, a couple of seasons ago, then yeah, it would be look a little bit worse. First of all, are you a superstitious person, Matt? I don't think I've asked you that since you've come on the pod.
No, not particularly. There's only a couple that I have. One is similar-ish turnstiles before a game. It's more routines. It's not like, oh, it has to be this one, but it's I think everybody's got their match day rituals and routines and stuff. Yeah. I'll always park the Leppings Lane side of the ground, even though it's a hassle for me to get away. It's just a habit. And yeah, same turnstiles. And then when I used to play football, I don't know why I did this. I used to tap both, jump up and tap both feet either side of the line before coming on. Again, don't know why. Made zero difference, but it always made me feel better. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not massively superstitious in that it sort of ruin my life if I don't do something. But then there's just certain things that that if I notice something. For example, this one that we're obviously getting onto, I've wore the New England shirt for every game during the Euros, and we've not lost a game up until this point, which renders it absolutely useless. But I woke up on yesterday morning, and I'm like, oh, where's my England shirt? And it was still in the wash. I'm like, I can have it. So first thing in the morning, in the washing machine, got it washed. We had to delay doing what we were doing until the washing machine had finished, so that it could hang it out to dry. Luckily, football shirts are all right, aren't they, for drying? It's not like it's a cotton t-shirt that weighs about 4 ton. So yeah, luckily it dried in time, and like I said, all to no avail because we lost anyway. And do you know what? It's mad as well. Why is it that what goes in your brain that you think that me putting my England shirt on in Sheffield is going to influence the game in fucking Berlin? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What even enters your head into even thinking it's going to make a difference?
It's the same as when you say, oh, if I'm at the stadium, it's nowhere near as bad as watching it on TV. It's when people say that and you actually realise it's far worse being there. It's far worse being there.
I shout with the telly, switch it! Look, you heard me, look. Again, I have no idea why you do that either, but you just do it. Alex has said 3 greats has to be one. It is for my wife. She'll divert around on the path if we're walking down the street. I just walk over and me. Same with the if there's a road sign, with the 2 lampposts, apparently you can't walk underneath them either. I do that. Do you know what? I do it just to see the reaction of other people.
Just watch them shuddering. Just
yeah, exactly. Oh my God! Something really bad's going to happen to me, but it hasn't happened since. So yeah, it's all load of rubbish. I did ask for some topics of discussion as well on Twitter. Reminder: if you are watching on Twitter, you can tweet us. I would say at WTID pod, but you're already watching us on Twitter, so you'll already know that. Same with YouTube as well, getting the comments. I'll try and read out as many as I can. I said, Is there anything you want us to talk about and discuss? Let us know. Sorry, Peter, you've said anything but England. That's exactly where we're going to start. So apologies for that one, but we can't not talk about the final. We are going to be talking about Wednesday stuff in a little bit, so do stick around. Overall, then, Matt, for me, it's kind of what I expected. If I'm being perfectly honest, I hoped, like everyone else, that we'd win. But if I had a tenner and someone said, put it on what you think's going to happen, I would have probably said that Spain were going to win. We just gave up possession, and I just felt like we just tried to stay in the game as long as we can and just played like a true underdog, sort of style of play. If it felt very much. Felt very much FA Cup kind of, Championship side against Premier League side, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I think, yeah, I mean, the game went pretty much as everybody was kind of expecting beforehand in terms of Spain dominated possession, which is, I know they've had a lot of possession this tournament, but they haven't absolutely battered teams in terms of possession this tournament. It's different from the Spain side that everybody remembers of like 2008 through till 2012, where it was, you might as well chuck another ball on at times. I thought the first half, England, I think tactically Southgate set up absolutely spot on, aside from one issue, which I'm sure we'll come on to, which was the captain up front. Spain looked fresh out of ideas in the first half. This is a side that has been very free-flowing all tournament. This is the side that have beat, they've had the hardest run to the final. They've beat Germany, they've beaten France, they've beaten all of the pre-tournament favourites to get here. And in the first half, it looked two fairly evenly matched sides, in my opinion. The two wingers who have been incredibly dangerous were nullified to very, very little effect.
I don't know about you, I was cheering every time that Shaw kind of just tackled Lamine Yamal. I was cheering like, yeah, come on.
Do you know what? I agree with you, because do you know what? It's the first time all tournament that he's looked like a 17-year-old kid. And that's no.
To be fair, it was his birthday the day before, so you probably bang right there.
Yeah, it's no slight on him, but like all tournament, like especially against France, like if you watch the Spain France game, like he was so electric along with Williams on the other wing that you would be, like people have started comparing him to, because he's had that photo of his mom getting him baptized or whatever by Messi and stuff like that, and he looked every part of that. Luke Shaw managed and marshalled him really well for a player who hasn't played any competitive football since February. It was the first player all tournament who has actually been able to make him look like an inexperienced teenager. The second half comes out and the goal is, whatever it is, it just kind of happens, and there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of different areas that you can dissect into it, but I know there will be so many different areas that have done it, and then you have to open up and you have to chase, and ultimately that plays into Spain's hands. Again, the game just goes away from you. It's late on. It's the same stuff with Wednesday, like you were talking about, relating this back to Wednesday. It's the hope that kills you, innit? Like if I relate it back to the Sunderland 2 legs over the playoffs, we were appalling at the Stadium of Light and could have comfortably got beat one. We did lose 1-0. We could have been beat 2-3. They just didn't take the chances and capitalise. You get them back to Hillsborough, Gregory scores late, and then you think we're in with a chance. There's all that momentum kind of feeling with you. It's only going one way. And then they score, and you also know that there's not enough time left. I know there was one cleared off the line late on, but there's not. You're gonna have to. You've been doing it all tournament. You can't keep doing it. Yeah,
for me, I didn't think it was a particularly bad performance. That it was. I mean, look, you have your tinted glasses on, don't you? When you're watching it, you're all living in that hope, and you kind of forget quite a lot. It's weird, isn't it, when it comes to finals and stuff. Whenever you kind of watch a game back or watch the highlights of a game back, you think, well, I didn't see it like that. When you're in the moment, you're fully invested in it. But I didn't think it was, like I said, it was awful. I mean, I think mainly it was probably just the tactics was all wrong, to be honest. I mean, I don't know why Gareth changed it from the Netherlands game. I think maybe, I don't know, reading too much into it. I think whichever way you play, you're probably going to have the same problems when you come up against that Spain side. But I just thought that first half against Netherlands was probably the best we'd played, bar the first 15 or 20 minutes in that opening game against, was it Serbia that we had. So I just thought, why don't we just do that? I think, try and catch them on the counter, which is what we did against Netherlands. Netherlands were coming at us, and just do it that way. Obviously, with Shaw coming in for Trippier, because I think if Trippier would have played, Yamal and would have just torn him a new arsehole, to be quite honest. But yeah, it was just a bit strange. I thought that he'd made them changes, but I think we've all got his thoughts on Gareth Southgate and his tactical ability and things like that, and yeah, it just didn't really. I didn't really get it more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think I think when you look at that, you're talking about that kind of like playing a little bit more kind of like counter-attacking, and I think you could have done that, but again, Southgate will live and die by the decisions, and there'll be a lot of people quite rightly angry, and there'll be a lot of people who don't like the style about it. I mean, I've said my piece on it like last week. It's not going to change now. I think he's an underrated manager, and I think people will look back in 5-10 years and kind of miss what they had, less so the football, because I'm not saying the football's great to watch. I'm saying the success that has come under him, and I know it's relative, but we are talking about a nation here that had got to, what was it? Is it 6 semi-finals or something like that in the previous 60 years or whatever? It's something silly. And then in the last 6 years, he's got us to 3, like 2 semi-finals. He's got us to 2 finals, a semi-final and a quarter-final. International football success is relative. Yes, I know you have to win it. First is something, and second is nowhere in international tournaments. But from where we were and where he took over from Sam Allardyce swigging pints of wine, it's a hell of a long way. I think naturally the need for progression has to come, and you talk about those tactical decisions. If you were going to play on the counter, you don't start Foden. Like, you start Gordon out wide, one wing, Saka out the other, and you take Kane off and ask Ivan Toney to do his best Harry Kane impression because he's fit. And you get the flying wingers, which is where England have been successful on the counter-attack against Spain in that footage that's been rattling around of Eric Dyer crunching Sergio Ramos.
Yeah. The thing is, though, with England, it's very much... I think this is why I don't particularly like watching them, because 95% of the games that you watch, England are a great, in terms of the ability that the players have got, they're up there, they're in the rankings, they're well up there, top, I don't know, what are they, 3rd or 4th or something like that in terms of the rankings. There's not many teams that are better than them, like on paper. So what you get is 95% of the games that you watch England play are against a shit nation ranked 135th in the world, and or you get to the I feel like pretty much every game, bar Netherlands, could have been a qualifier. I think I said that last time. It could have been a qualifier game. In the way that they panned out, a team just happy to draw. Like, a draw is good against England. And I feel like, because it's like that, when we come up against a decent nation, I think there was a statistic, something like we've won, I don't know, like 17 out of 50-something games or whatever it is against a top 10 nation or whatever it might be. It's because we're so used to playing in a certain way against these shit nations where it's just 11 men behind the ball and you're just trying to break them down, that we come up against a decent side and we don't really know what to do, and it's just frustrating more than anything else. Yeah, I mean, Bellingham out wide as well. Like, what's all that about? Apparently, he plays out there for Real Madrid, doesn't he? But
yeah, I was just going to come on to that. So I think it's less where he plays in terms of an attacking sense. It's more where he drops into defensively, because this past season that he's been playing, obviously he's only been playing there for a season. He's had Vinicius Junior and Rodrigo, who it's a very mobile kind of like front three that has played. And often Vinicius Junior will find himself central, so Bellingham will drop into that left, that wide left position. He did it against Man City in the Champions League and did it to good effect. I think there's a lot of, I don't want this to be like, he's from, round roughly where I live, like I'm defending him to the hilt, because I think he's been a moments player, but England have been a moments team, and I would argue that he's been one of the most effective moments players. Last night, there was a lot of people who were saying, he's, judging by any of the stats metrics that are on kind of like any rating sort of thing, he's come out as England's top performer from last night. There's been loads of stuff that have said, I've got eyes, I can see that he's not effective. Go back and watch the goal. He's the one who, Pickford comes out to him, he plays it out wide, it then gets there, he's the one in the box, he's the one who lays it off to Cole Palmer. He doesn't have a great game, no, I'll agree with that compared to the levels that he set all year, but he's still effective and still makes something happen. I think there are a couple of England players who have got off incredibly lightly based on last night, and because they are just Sky Sports, BBC News, whoever's kind of golden boy. I mean, Phil Foden. I think Carl Walker's got off very scot-free. I think Declan Rice has got off scot-free as well. I mean, we've talked about him a little bit. Harry Kane is the England captain, England's all-time leading goal scorer. But that is 2 major finals that he has played in the Champions League final and this Euros final, and he has been non-existent and appalling.
He's gone missing. He just goes missing, doesn't he? Like, you know, is it? Do you know what? People keep going back to, well, won Golden Boot, 3 goals. Like, you know, scored as many goals as anyone else did. And yeah, he did. Yeah, one from the penalty spot. So we'll take that one away. He scored 2 other goals. One right place at the right time, and his other one was that iconic that I can't even remember what it was. So just show, do you know what I mean? Just shows how good he's been. And do you know what? I mean, we'll probably get onto it in a second. Well, might as well talk about it now. To be fair, with Kane. I think it's international football as well. The next tournament is the World Cup. That's in 2 years' time. You know, he's 30, I think, Kane now, is he?
Yeah.
So it'd be 32. I mean, it's not exactly a retirement age for a footballer, but I just feel like now is the time. You know, like I said, he's been poor in the last two finals that we've got to. Ollie Watkins showed, well, he got us to the final with the goal that he scored. There's other players in there that are probably thinking, when am I going to get my chance? And they're doing it in club football. All right, so is Harry Kane, but then they're also doing it when they've been given the small chance that they've been given. And I just feel like, you know, sometimes you have to make big decisions in international football, and I feel like we're just playing trying to shoehorn in all the best players for the club into a team. And it's just a team of individuals. It's not really a team.
I agree with.
So, you know, there's sometimes you have to say to Phil Foden, you don't really fit in this team that we're trying to work. You'll be on the bench, and you know, if we change the system, you might fit into this other one. But there's certain system we kind of change the formation, but just use exactly the same players, and it just doesn't work like that all the time.
Yeah, and I think, you know, going back to the Harry Kane thing. I think, like I mentioned this with, you know, knowing full well that Harry Kane is England's top scorer. He's the captain. He has been an incredible goal scorer. He still is an incredible goal scorer. He's got 40-odd goals in the Bundesliga this year. He's been Prem top scorer for a number of years. He is not fit and hasn't been fit all tournament. This is where it has to come down to a decision between both himself and the manager in terms of, there is no way he should have started last night.
No.
With the level of performance, and to be fair, I know Southgate receives a lot of criticism for not changing things. I do think it was right, obviously, that he changed him. Could he have changed him at half time? Yeah, possibly. But you could. I've also sat here and said, you know, like the tactical workings in the first half were spot on, bar Kane being able to hold the ball up. I still think he's got a huge part to play for England. I still think he's an incredible goal scorer. I think going to the Bundesliga has actually helped him immensely. I know he's injured at the minute, but I actually think it's going to prolong his career, because you see strikers like Lewandowski, who was there for a number of years, has then gone on to have a very successful time at Barcelona since. You know, you look at Thomas Muller, you look at, you know, a lot of their greats, they get them into such a peak physical condition to continue to play football that I think he will still be incredibly effective. Do I think that means that he has to be the starting and the only option that can ever play up front for England? Absolutely not. Because I agree with you. I think it would have been better to start, personal opinion, I think it would have been better to start with Ivan Toney yesterday, because I think he is the closest thing to what you have to a peak Harry Kane right now in terms of movement, ability to link play, ability to win headers. The amount of times Pickford kicked the ball long yesterday, it would go long from a goal kick or the back, and it was Jude Bellingham who was winning a header to flick it onto nobody, where you want it Kane winning a header to flick it onto Bellingham, to Saka, to whoever the winger is out on the left-hand side with runners. The whole thing was just, we have been so successful, England, with that central striker, with having runners behind him. We've effectively played without a central striker all tournament because Kane's just not fit, and one flying winger because we've been desperate to shoehorn Foden, Bellingham, Saka, Rice, Mainu all onto the pitch. And again, yeah, I agree with you. It goes back to that idea of sacrificing any type of a cohesive system where you use your squad for names on a team sheet.
Yeah, but with Kane as well for Bayern Munich, he's got Musiala on one side, he's got Sane on the other, absolutely bombing forward. And then whenever we did get forward, whenever Saka did beat his man, he looked up, and where's Harry Kane? He's like on the far side of the pitch, on the edge of the box, on the corner of the 18-yard box. What the fuck are you doing there? Yeah. Get in the box, get into the penalty spot. Score a goal. Like, honestly, the amount of times that Harry Kane was just ambling along as if he was scared to even get in the position to score a goal. It was so, and to be fair, it's not just him, there was other players as well. When Saka, I know Saka's quick, but when there's got to be surely a directive from the gaffer to be like, are we putting crosses in early? Are we going to the byline? I've said it for Sheffield Wednesday as well. Like, I mean, that's, we're obviously talking about, second tier football to, elite, England players here. Surely there must be, this is what I want you to do, so that your players, your midfielders, your striker in Harry Kane knows where the ball's going to come. It's like, they didn't really know what they were trying to do. There was no real plan. Whereas you see some of the goals that we've conceded, you see this the second goal, is there. He's where you want Harry Kane to be, just to bundle the ball over the line.
And I mean, going on, I might as well talk about it now. That second goal, I talk about it for the first goal as well. I think that is, if we're talking about should players be playing at the next tournament, Kyle Walker should not be playing anywhere near that England side at the next tournament. I think Kyle Walker has been a fantastic right back for the past 3, 4, 5 years, and at Man City he will continue to be so for at least another year, 18 months, because he is in a system where everybody knows their positions on the pitch and their positional play is outstanding, anchored by Rodri. I know it's not just all Rodri, but he is such a central figure to that Man City side, the same way that Busquets was to that Guardiola Barcelona side. Everything anchors around him, so you can have you can have a right back who's slightly out of position because you've always got someone covering. Kyle Walker yesterday is not close enough for both goals.
Yeah,
it's criminal that you have a right wing back with the pace of him, that he feels that my pace is just going to get me out of jail every single time. The first one, he gets sucked in by the run from Dani Olmo, and should trust his countryman and clubmate and one of his supposed best mates, John Stones, to be able to deal with a runner who's running away from goal. Like, he's running across goal, Olmo. He's not running to it, he's running across it. And he's, to
be fair, Olmo's probably, Walker's probably sucked in, and he's probably done exactly what Olmo wanted him to do, which is take him away from, where the ball's going to actually go and find the back of the net ultimately.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's a smart finish. The second one, I think, is the one which really highlights, I think, where there's a little bit of that arrogance around, like if I go back to, there's been that interview with Henry floating around and Kyle Walker where Jack Grealish asked him, who do you think could beat one another in his prime? And Henry's going, what, in my prime? Me? All day? It's going to be me.
Yeah.
You look at that ball from Cucurella. Cucurella is a good player. He has not had the best of seasons. I know he's on a huge high because every Spanish fan loves him. The ball in is sensational. Like, the ball in is good enough to win any final of any game. Like, it's an outstanding delivery.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way he should have the time and space to be able to get to that ball. That ball should never. It's because Walker is so far off him that the ball goes there. Because I can't remember who it is who plays the ball to him. Recognises, I don't care how quick he is, he's not getting out to it.
Yeah.
And it actually allows Cucurella to hit the ball in stride perfectly, irrespective of where Kyle Walker is, because it would have taken a superhuman effort to get there. Now, 3 years ago, maybe with an extra half yard of pace, Walker gets there. At his age currently, he does not get there. Either the positional play is going to have to get better, or Trent Alexander-Arnold is not the best defensive right back. I would have much preferred to have had him playing yesterday, because I think personally, at present, in this England side, Kyle Walker has been at fault for too many errors and too many goals this tournament.
Yeah. Do you think it's an opportunity of the changing of the guard, if you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's an opportunity where Southgate's going to leave and someone else is going to come in, and I think that is what I don't want to happen is a new gaffer come in and just pick the same players that have that we've been playing for however many years. I know there has been some new additions. I know Jordan said Gay here, probably player of the tournament. I have to agree. He's come out of this looking fantastic, and you'd argue again if he started the next game for England, you won't have any problems with that, to be honest. But I feel like, if it's an opportunity to not pick Kane, potentially not pick Stones either. Like I said, the tournament's 2 years' time. Like, is Stones going to be any good in another 2 years? Like you said, is Walker going to be the same level in 2 years' time? You've got to kind of look to the future, I think, sometimes, and plan for that early doors. Even though they'll be good enough for the next game, whatever that may be. I don't know when the next England fixture is, but they'll be good enough then. But you've got to kind of, yeah. But you've got to plan for what's going to happen, and I feel like I said, it's a prime opportunity in regards to, Southgate and everything. I'm guessing you're probably in the same boat as everyone else, that you feel like it's time for someone else to come in.
I'm undecided, is the honest answer, because if you, irrespective of what you think about the actual football style of things and all the rest of it, I think there is a limit to what you can play. I think England people talk about, like we wanted, like Spain's pressing yesterday was outstanding and that counter press was really, really good. When England did that at the tournament, which the last tournament that they were able to do that, which is Qatar, they went out in the quarterfinals. They're just simply not built to be able to do that. Like this England side, the players, the tactical setup, the nous of it all is just not geared towards that. And you're definitely not going to get that at the end of a club season, which is now best part of 55 games, including pre-season tours to Australia or China or wherever. You're just simply not going to get that. What you are going to get is this battered and bruised, kind of patched up England side of star players who are overutilised and overworked by their main club sides. The top three, I think I can't remember where I read it today. At the minute, you're looking at Howe, Potter, and Pochettino.
Yeah.
Realistically, Eddie Howe is the one which a lot of people have spoken about. Wider media, and like a lot of fans have said, Newcastle play sparkling football. Look at the amount of injuries that Newcastle have had this year. Newcastle have had that many injuries because of the level of intensity that Eddie Howe demands Newcastle play at. And that is constant. He said that in interviews. He said that in, I think it was the Gary Neville one. I can't remember which it's called. It's not Stick to Football. It's the one where he interviewed. Is it the Overlap?
The Overlap, yeah.
Yeah. If you go and listen to the Eddie Howe interview there, he sounds really, really, really intense. And whilst that sounds really appealing and on the eye sounds perfect, the style of football, all the rest of it, players simply won't be able to carry that out. Like after a 45, 50 game season, players simply will not be able to carry that out. Your next one is Graham Potter, who, again, tactically very, very aware manager, but his last really big job, which was Chelsea, didn't work out. Now, Chelsea's a basket case, but it didn't work out at all.
Yeah, I think of that as well. Chelsea, again, a lot of elite players. I'm not saying that Brighton isn't, but they're the sort of players that you have in the England squad. Players that play for Chelsea, Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. They're all superstars. And I know I said Chelsea's a bit of a basket case, but was it a case of the club, or was it a case of he couldn't really get the best out of all those players? And if it's the latter, it's not really what you want going into the England side, which you're not even spending that much time with him to kind of get to know him or anything like that. He's literally, you get to see him for a few weeks at a time, don't you?
Yeah, and then the other one that's been mentioned by a lot of people is Pochettino, who, again, I think did a good job at the back end of the season at Chelsea. I think he was harsh to lose his job. I think Maresca going in there is an absolute... He's a car crash waiting to happen. But if you look at Pochettino, again, he is great at building relationships with players. If you go back to Tottenham and you go back to kind of like the Chelsea side, and he did get them playing in a particular style, but it takes a while to click, and that style is incredibly different to the one that England currently play, which, again, irrespective of whether you like it, I go back to, has been incredibly successful in tournament football for this particular country. So I don't know, I think you've got to be really, really careful in terms of what you do. I think there is a bit of a, no one gives a shit about the Nations League unless anybody's trying to build points like, we all do for like midweek away days in like the Carabao Cup or whatever. But I think you've got to be careful. If you're going to make an appointment, you make it based off the fact of you give it a year for somebody to just bed in, and you completely remove any expectation, because the culture shock and shift from what Southgate has done because of how poor it was has got to be really smart. Again, very similar to the parallels that we saw under Darren Moore. You might not have liked the football. You might have absolutely detested and hated every single game that you went and watched of Moore football. But what nobody can deny, what he came here and did, was give everybody a sense of pride back in their football club.
Yeah.
And I think Southgate's done exactly the same at England.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't think it's as kind of as black and white as what people are making out as well. And I think you have to, what you've said is bang right, but also just because he's got us to this level doesn't again automatically mean that you get another chance in the World Cup. There is a ceiling, and I feel like we've perhaps reached his ceiling. And it's great what he's done. It's like the whole, you bring Sam Allardyce in to save you from relegation, but you don't bring Sam Allardyce in to win your Champions League, do you? But that's where we were. I mean, ironically, it was Sam Allardyce before Southgate came in. But that's where we were. He's got us out of that mess. He's built us to where we are now, and then we just need someone else with a bit of tactical nous to get us to that next step. I'm going to read a few comments out from people. I did ask the question last night: if it's not going to be Southgate, who do you want to see take over? And also, I've seen Jay's comments on YouTube. Can't wait to get back to Wednesday podcasts here. Sick of hearing about England now. Bring on the season. I'll read these out and we'll get back onto Wednesday. So do stick around. Brett said Klopp would be a good shout, but we desperately need a manager that will play on the front foot and let all attacking talent run. Show Saka, Foden, Bellingham, Kane, etc. All defending is criminal and gives you no outlet. So pressure just keeps piling. Klopp, I mean, it would be fantastic, but I can't see it. I can't. No. The thing is, realistically, who is going to take this job? Because, seeing all the criticism that you get, it's just a disaster waiting to happen, really. Someone that does take it has got some big cojones, is all I'm saying. Daniel said Eddie Howe. Mad Owl said Klopp. James Cowell has gone for Klopp. Chris Brammer, and this is an absolute shoe in this one. Jos Lukai he's gone for. Albert Ramsbottom has said Danny would have won that. Yeah, that style of play would definitely have done something. Ben said, got a feeling Lampard will throw his hat into the ring. Oh my days. Andrew, Klopp. Wayne's gone for Klopp. Joseph Speed's gone Pep or Klopp, but neither will take it. Yep. Adam said anyone but Danny Röhl. And Ole has just put a picture of, I think it's Jesus with Danny Röhl's face on it, which, all for that. Michael, the last one, Michael said Mourinho or give Southgate a year to bring players through and give it to Pep after that.
You couldn't have Pep as England manager. I've said this before, he's too much of a football perv to be able to just go to 4 games during an international break, because he would legitimately be on the pitch trying to stop a game. Like, he'd be asking players to go down and then be on coaching them and talking to them about how, because they're a foot out of position, it's caused an earthquake in Indonesia, and actually that they need to move a little bit more, and they've got to listen to him. I couldn't deal with that.
I can't see him sat in the stands at Craven Cottage watching, whoever it is, just on a bit of a scouting mission. Do you know what I mean? You see it on Sky, don't you? The pant at Gareth Southgate, and he's here in a little notepad. No, I can't see Pep doing that at all. Right, let's get into the Wednesday stuff then.
Oh, thank God.
That is it. England is done until the World Cup pleased. In 2 years' time. Yes, we're done with it now. Hallelujah and all that. Let's have a look then. Chris has said incoming transfers. That's exactly where we'll start. Seems an age ago now. Last Tuesday, I think it was. Charlie McNeil was announced as signing number 8 of the season, permanent signing number 7 as well, which we all said about, never fall in love with loan players. Well, we've only got one to fall in love with at the moment, but Charlie McNeil, 20-year-old, come from Man United's academy. Are you excited by this one, Matt?
Yeah, from the stuff that you see posted on Twitter and Wisecout, he looks like he's about to become the next £40 million young English striker in the Premier League. He looks unbelievable. It's a really exciting signing in prospect, but again, it is a prospect and it's a project. I know he's just had 2 loan spells and he's just coming in here trying to find a home. I wouldn't be opposed genuinely to sending this kid out on loan. Like,
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to sending him out to a top-end League One, a Bolton, somebody like that who is going to be challenging, and doing 6 months with a recall clause in January, and just saying, go and get some football, go and play week in, week out at a top-end team, challenging, and let's see what you do. Alternatively, I think if you're going to bring him in and have us around the first team setup, it is pointless doing what we have done historically and sitting this kid down on a bench and just having him warming a bench and warming up. He needs to be playing football. He is a striker who is really, really exciting, with lots of movement, good with both feet, good with assists as well, but he needs to be playing football to aid that development, and I'm not entirely 100% sure he's going to get that with us this season. I'm not entirely sure I'd also be fully happy with the kind of role that Cadamartri got at us last season, in that wait to bed him in type of thing, and then when he does, he comes on and has an impact, but everybody's kind of left thinking maybe we want a little bit more from him. I think you've either got to use him right from the start, or we need to be looking to get him games quickly somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, my next question was going to be like, he's unproven at this level, and whether that's a concern at all. He's played 20 games at Newport County back in 2023, and then 3 games for Stevenage on loan as well. Not really sure what happened there as to why he's only played a couple of games. So yeah, to jump into the Championship is a bit of a step up for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Lamine Yamal, 16, 17 years old. He's 20 now, so people say he's still young, but he should be looking, like you said, to play regular football. I'm a bit like you, really. I'm a bit unsure as to what Danny Röhl sees in him. I mean, some people said, "Oh, he's a youth player." No, he is first team. They wouldn't have done the song and a dance about him if he was just knocking around in the under 23s. So
yeah,
he's a first team player, but. Yeah, if you look at it, you're gonna have Cadamartri, then you're gonna have Charlie McNeil, then Michael Smith. It's not filling me with a load of confidence, but it's still 3-4 weeks left until the season gets underway. But I am excited by it though. You look at I think he's got records in youth football for Manchester City, scoring, and then obviously went to Man United as well. I'm looking on here. It went for a reported £750,000 as what it would have been 16 years old. Like that's more than like some of the Wednesday players have gone for in their prime, and he was a 16-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So when you're talking like that, it's daft numbers. Look, like I said, the main thing for me though, on a wider scale, is the profile of the players that we're bringing in. 20 years old. He's not 32. You know what I mean? On his last paycheck, he's 20 years old, big future ahead of him, and hopefully that'll be with us. And that's promising to see from a shift in how we used to be doing things, if you know what I mean.
100%, absolutely 100%. You see, I say all of that like I'd like to see him go out on loan unless he's going to have a really prominent figure. I'd also quite equally like to see him being used like Jedi Gassama was last year, somebody who made himself. You can't take him out of the team. You can't not play him. You can't not have him in and around the first team. Because I don't think when we signed Gassama last year, I mean, if we'd have had, shift Danny Roll back, say we'd have signed Jedi Gassama this summer rather than last, I'd have been saying exactly the same about him then. Yeah. Somebody who comes in with loads of pedigree but needs to be playing football. And we 100% saw the benefits of that with Gassama last year. What is, I don't think has been talked about enough with this signing, we have now got 2 of England's really, like 2 of the England youth setups in the last couple of years. We have got 2 of their hottest properties within our club.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a thing where actually we can play these 2 together? With using Jamal Lowe as some experience, with Josh Windass, with Anthony Masaba, is it actually you just go out and let we've just been talking about it with Southgate and playing somebody who doesn't need to be playing. Is it you just say to these kids, go out and play with a lot of freedom, just go and do what you want to do, go and do what's made you successful at youth level, you go and score the goals, everybody else will take the responsibility for you?
Yeah, why not? Like, it's certainly an option that we've got in it, do you know what I mean? And when we haven't really had that before, have we? Do you know what I mean? It's very, very exciting to see, where where he's going to fit in and how.
Do you feel uneasy about it, James? Do you feel a bit uneasy like with all of that? Like I was saying all of that, going, wow, can you imagine just letting 20-year-olds pretty much loose on the pitch, just at Hillsborough, just go do what you want, lads. Like I'm not really that fussed.
Yeah, but do you know what though? Like, it's good that we can say that though. Like we hadn't been able to say that. Like, we've never had players at that sort of age come. All right, they haven't come through. Cadamartri has. This one we've signed him,
George Hurst.
Well, yeah, Premier League. but we've had it before where you bringing players out of the academies that aren't good enough. It's great, play Football Manager. That's all I do. Sign those players that have been released. Look, we had another one. I hope signs a new contract soon that come out of the Man United academy. And look how good we thought. Yeah, exactly. Look how good we thought he was and everything. So yeah, very encouraging. Like I said, a little bit apprehensive as to the fact that he's not being proven at this level. But again, a lot that gets turned around quite a lot, unproven at this level. And these players that just burst onto the scene, Kobbie Mainoo, for example, just all of a sudden first team regular at Man United. He's not proven in the Premier League, but you make yourself prove. You have to play the games to be proven at that level. So they have to start somewhere, and why not Charlie McNeil starting at Sheffield Wednesday and bagging some goals this season?
100%. Like if you look at Cadamartri, I know he was really struggling with that, and I did feel Danny's hand was forced with Bailey Cadamartri. I think he would have used him ultimately, but I think his hand was forced with the lack of goals that we were scoring, with the lack of movement that was up top and the way that he wanted to play football. He had to throw him in. Did he go three games without scoring and then scored and kind of like got himself on a little bit of a run, and then Ike Ugbo came in, and then I think he was overutilised by us and we almost burnt him out a bit quickly, and we had to kind of manage him towards the end of the season.
And then also Ugbo came in and he hit that scoring.
Yeah.
And then at the time you couldn't drop Ugbo because we needed the goals. Yeah, exactly.
And like again, we might still be in a couple of weeks' time here, sitting here talking about the fact that Ike Ugbo signed, and this all becomes a bit redundant because then you really do have somebody's got to go from that striking room. Somebody has got. You can't have four strikers for one position. You can't have, out and out strikers, because I know Jamal Lowe can play there and I know Josh Windass can play there. But you can't have Ugbo, Smith, Cadamartri, McNeil all looking to play that central strikers position, and only one of them are going to get to do it because. Ultimately, out of the lot of them, I would be sad to see him go, but I think there's a market for Michael Smith. I think he offers us something that maybe only Callum Patterson does with about 10 minutes to go, but I would fancy Michael Smith to score more than Callum Patterson.
Yeah.
But again, from a versatility and from a squad harmony standpoint, I do think there's a market there for Michael Smith towards the end of the window for a bottom end. It's got Derby written all over it. It's got Derby. It's got an emotional return back to Rotherham where they all forgive him and they all buy him another Newcastle shirt and all the rest of it.
All Rotherham fans are out there trying to get them burnt embers of the shirt, trying to
just stood there with a stick.
Yeah, trying to somehow put it all back together from years before. But yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and I think then if you're going to rotate between Ugbo, Cadamartri, McNeil, I can completely understand it, because what you don't want also, I say this with the greatest will of respect to Michael Smith, I wouldn't want that for the end of his Wednesday career. Like, I wouldn't want him being effectively what Lee Gregory was last year. I think we did Gregory a disservice by you've got to learn from your mistakes as a club, and you've got to allow players to leave when it's the right time to leave. But yeah, it isn't a really, really good sign-in. It's something that's really exciting. It's something that's progressive. It's something that's forward-thinking. Historically, that we don't do. I'm not quite sure how I feel about him yet, because the sample size, again, what we were saying with Peels Charles for the past couple of weeks, it's so small.
Yeah.
But if you look at what Tom's posted on TW Football on X, I'm convinced that if he gets a run in the side, he could be quite successful in this, because, again, I think what Danny's been great at doing with young players is taking that pressure off them and just allowing them to go and play and putting experienced players around them. I would be really pleased to see him brought in from the start. If you're not going to use him, again, as I said, I'd like to see him go and get some football.
And the other thing as well is talent identification. Danny Rails brought this guy in. Do you know what I mean? He's seen something in his numbers, in the way he plays, or whatever it is that he says, I want this guy to fit into my system. that's, Danny Rail's not had a pre-season yet. We're all forgetting that the squad that he had last season, he inherited. So again, he's had to kind of fit his playing style into what works for the sort of players that he's got. Yeah, in January you can tweak it a little bit, and obviously no surprise that we sort of hit form after January and finished off quite strong. Now he's got a full pre-season. He's offloaded the shit that he wants to get rid of. There might be some others that he's had to stick with because of the contract lengths.
Yeah.
But then he's now brought in the players that hopefully that fit in his way that he wants to play, or certainly how he wants to start the season. And obviously, Charlie McNeil is one of them. When you look at Kadamatre, he was already at the club. All right, he's brought him out of the youth team, and I'm guessing he saw him that fits the style or fits what he wants to do. But McNeil, he is a player that he's gone out and gone, I want this player to play for Sheffield Wednesday. So you've got to see that as like a massive positive.
Yeah, the other thing is McNeil wanted to come to us. That is the other thing that is a huge positive about this. You were talking about, Danny Roll's gone out and found who it is, somebody who was training with us last year, who has been into and knows the club, knows the setup, knows the system. He also came out, and the first thing that I know it's an interview and he's going to say it when he's just signed a 3-year deal, but you genuinely did feel like there was a want and a will there. Like we were hearing, with any report, unless it's some real random 40 followers on Twitter, there's no smoke without fire. And there was all these reports of saying there were lots of other clubs who were interested in him, but he was very keen to make this happen. And those were reports that were coming out, 14 days, 7 days before he actually ended up signing for us.
Yeah.
I would suggest that is, again, it goes back to this thing that we've been talking about, in that fantastic week that we had a couple of weeks ago. It was a signing a day, where players want to come in and play for this manager. And that is the same that we had with Darren Moore, and it's the same effect that we did. But again, the quality of footballer I think that we are starting to attract now, granted, again, not seen in play, and I know the next player we're going to come on to talk about, I'm not going to be anywhere near as positive about, but it is really, really pleasing to see. It's got all of the positives, it's got all of the hallmarks, it's got all of the data fingerprints that Danny Roll has got written and stamped all over him. More than happy with the signing.
Yeah, definitely. When you mentioned there about signing a day, Ian's tweeted and said, "Why haven't we signed anyone for nearly 3 days? It's worrying." Yeah, I know exactly how you feel. I was, it was one of those where I'm, sat here today working, and I'm like thinking, I hope the signing just comes out of the blue, just to cheer everyone up.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great?
We've all forgotten about the international football anyway, but just to kind of rubber stamp it and be like, you have definitely forgot about it. Here's something to cheer you all up. But
here's an owl back in Jan Pavada's bio. That'll calm everyone down.
Definitely. Jay's just said, actually, we're in a domestic with Pavada right now until he follows us back on Instagram.
I've not moved on, funnily enough. I've really not moved on.
Not taking the break up very well, are you, Matt?
Not at all. I've been sat with a blanket and bars of chocolate, just crying myself to sleep every night watching YouTube. Just watching that turn on repeat from Bristol City.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do that every night anyway, but anyway. Nathaniel Shalabar, signing number 9, another permanent signing. Do you know what? Before we move on, I retweeted it the other day. It was literally, I mean, they've either had this teed up for a couple of days already, or it's fantastic, quick-witted. They said the song should be the We Buy Any Car advert.
Yeah.
Just sold my car, Nathaniel Shalabar. Absolute peak. I mean, let's tweak the lyrics a little bit. We don't need to sell your car. It doesn't really work, but yeah, the tune absolute fits to a T. So yeah, well played. Sorry, I forgot who it was that did it, but if you scroll back on Twitter, you'll find it.
You'll find it.
A Saturday signing. He had been training with us as well. Whilst we were down at St George's for a couple of days, or maybe for a day, which I think Danny Rail kind of didn't hint at him signing, but he says that's what certainly obviously for the free transfers, gets him in, has a good look at him, introduce him into training, see what they're all about, which is obviously can only be a positive. Former Chelsea, Watford, and Fulham and West Brom midfielder. A bit like what you said, really. It's not really being negative or anything, but I just look at the number of minutes that he's played over the previous 3 campaigns. It's not managed over 1,000 minutes, which, to put that into perspective, Smith played 1,100, Gregory played 800 minutes, I think it was, last season, just as a comparison. So he's in between them in terms of the number of minutes that we played. And you think back last season, if I said to you how many times did Michael Smith played, you'd probably say not very many. You know, he did make 33 appearances, so he's got a lot of. You look at it and you think, well, he's fucking played all season. Averages out at 20 minutes a game. I think he started 7 and didn't finish a full 90 minutes either. But by all accounts, it wasn't down to injury. He just wasn't favoured, were he, Matt?
Nope. So again, I spoke about the fact that I've got a West Brom supporting mate, very close mate of mine. I actually went to a pre-season friendly last year, which was West Brom versus Bolton. A cracking game. Bolton won 3-2. Bolton looked like world beaters on the day. He came on for the last 30 minutes of it. He actually got booed by the 300 West Brom fans who were there because he'd been basically kicking up a fuss all summer about going off to Turkey. The move fell through for whatever reason, and when he came on, he did not get a great reception. I can only go off what little snippets of it that I've seen and what other people have seen. Again, I know quite a few West Brom fans. The first thing that I said was, I've got the message thread up here. The first thing that I said was, we've just signed Nathaniel Chalobah. Is he any good? Enjoy the 15-minute cameo where he gives a cheap free kick away and you lose the game 1-0. And enjoy him pointing and blaming at everyone else. And I said, well, him and Bannon will get on great then. That's obviously of a club who've just lost the player. This is the first signing where I've not been entirely sure on. However, after I'd calmed down, I did sit there and think, well, actually, if this is just a Tyreek Backinson replacement for a squad player and a rotation player in an area where we currently do not have any depth, and he gets a bit more game time, understands and learns the system, and fits in well, because technically he's a very good footballer. He likes to pass the ball about. He likes to play for a team that is in possession. You know, Fulham, West Brom, all scream possession-based football. In theory, it all should work.
Yeah.
My only concern is exactly as you say, 33 appearances last season, and all of them are about 15 to 20 minute cameos. There's very few starts in there aside from FA Cup and league games. I would hope that he comes in with something to prove, and he really wants to rubber stamp kind of like and get back to some of the form that had him so highly rated when he was at Chelsea and he was at Watford and places like that. It's the only one where I've sat there and thought, I can't quite understand the logic of that, but I am sure that there are metrics somewhere that prove that this is a very smart signing.
Yeah, a great segue into my next bit that I was going to say, because I did look at the numbers and stuff just to try and, because again, first thing you look at is the appearances and things like that, and I'm a bit underwhelmed, and I'm thinking, well, what do the actual, the other metrics say about him? And obviously we know Danny Reel looks at data a lot. If you go on FB Ref, there's like a scouting report, and you probably heard me quite a bit talking about like percentiles and things like that in certain areas. And you can actually compare two players. So I see him as a Will Vaulks replacement. A defensive midfielder. Will Vaulks was we've let him go. So I put them two against each other, and Will Vaulks beats him in quite a few areas, but I think it's all the areas that I don't think Danny Reel's overly bothered about or doesn't really want that player to be. We spoke quite a lot at the back end of last season saying Will Vaulks really came into his own over those final 6, 7, 8, 9 games, whatever it was, when we kind of relaxed his principles a little bit and started playing just needs must football and just getting the points at the end of the day. And obviously it did enough, and we stayed up. That a lot of tackling, a lot of big headers, and just that gritty stuff that you need. Whereas when you look and you compare the two, when it comes to pass completion, progressive passes, successful take-ons, touches in the opponent's box, Chalobah is ahead with Will Vaulks, and no slight on Will Vaulks, great player, great guy, great servant for us over those couple of years, but more of a footballer than what Will Vaulks is. And so from that point of view, when we go back to what I just said about McNeil, in that Danny Reel's brought him in, you've got to say the same thing about Chalobah. He's moved a player on, in Will Vaulks, and he's bringing in a player that kind of more fits what he wants the side to do. So yeah, as much as like I said, we're a little bit underwhelmed initially. Again, like a bit like yourself, you look back at it and you think, actually, maybe he's going to find a player in there. And you look and the experience he's got. All right, he's 29 years old, so we're signing young players that are unproven, but he's signing players that are older, that are, all right, I don't want to say proven, but all their experience is in the Championship, and above.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to that idea of, again, I'm not comparing him to Tyreek Backinson because I think that's incredibly unfair on Nathaniel Chalobah, because, I mean, from what we saw of Tyreek Backinson, for whatever reason, it just didn't work, but he also wasn't up to the standard of Championship football. I mean it in the sense of if he takes that position of actually being a utility player who can actually rotate round, because, again, I agree with you. I don't think Danny Roll this year is going to be wedded to these 11 have to start. He is going to have to rotate to be able to keep the entire squad happy. If he becomes part of that midfield rotation, where some days that he actually comes in for Barry Bannon and Bannon takes the last 30 minutes of a game and Chalobah starts it, we as Wednesday fans have to get used to that. We have to get used to this idea of you have competing players for competing positions, and they can, because obviously our game schedule this year is going to be more mental than ever before. You're going to have very few weeks where you've got 7 days in between a game. You're going to have a Saturday followed by a Tuesday, potentially followed by a Friday or a Sunday. Like, they are going to be dotted about all over the place this year because of that new Sky deal. If he can come in and play in a rotation kind of setup, I am all for it. It's just there are, again, as I go back to that point that we were making just before, it's the number of minutes that really concern me. As to, yes, I know Fulham and West Brom were competing at different ends of the table to what we have been historically, but it's that number of minutes that would concern me. But again, if you're looking for somebody who is replacing Will Vaulks, again, I can understand why, because as you say, it's going to be a different style of football, isn't it? It's not going to be long throw-ins and kick fuck out of Sam Smodics when he's trying to break on you, is it? It's not going to be that.
Yeah, and the other thing you've got to look at as well is if he'd played 46 games and 2,500 minutes, we're probably not picking him up on a free. Do you know what I mean? That's it, innit? I say it myself, and then I've kind of got, need to practice what I preach, really. I say how you've got to temper your expectations when it comes to a transfer window. When you've got no money to spend, which, let's be right, I don't think we really have, even though it looks like we have. I don't think there is any money there. You get players from, you get the youth players that are being released, like we're doing with McNeil. You get the players that are out of favour, that are from the same league or bottom end Prem, which Chalobah fits that bill. Or you go out there and you might get someone out of contract from the league below that wants to test themselves, and they've just held out for to leave on a free. Or you have to spend a bit of money and bring someone in from that league below, and that's all the Unfortunately, we haven't got that money to spend, so you're gonna have to sign someone that's out of contract, then it's probably been out of favour, hence why they've been able to leave on a free. So, like I said, we were never going to get someone that had played every single minute of last season, to be fair. Right, let's... Jacob on Twitter said, Deshaun Bernard, training camps, and what you feel like is going to happen in the season. We'll talk about the Deshaun Bernard one then. It keeps rumbling on and on and on and on and on. He's definitely back from Copa America, which, just on that, did you see the scenes yesterday of all the fans trying to get into the ground?
Yeah, it was 90 minutes when kickoff was delayed by, which is, really, really smart when America are hosting that tournament in less than 2 years' time?
Yeah, the World Cup, yeah. Yeah,
so and the nature of the fact that football fans are it's a different crowd to an NFL crowd in terms of you have to keep them separate, you have to keep them apart, they can't just all mix and mingle together. I know international tournaments are different to club football, but it can't all just blend into one seamlessly and everybody will just get along and hug and kiss. Like, it just doesn't happen, does it, at football stadiums? You have to separate them.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there was that, and then there was the one before when they played Uruguay with the fighting in the stands as well. So looked a fantastic. I didn't see much of the games. Also, were fans fighting with each other. Which anyway, but yeah, Deschamps Bernard then back from Copa America.
Yeah.
Seen him training. He was training in some old Wednesday gear on Instagram the other day. Then he quickly switched to some Jamaica stuff. Yeah, it's one of them ones. I just want it done and sorted. Like we're now into what, the third week of pre-season. They're going to be going to Germany in a few days' time. Friday, I think that is. For me, I don't know if it's getting itchy feet. You need to kind of get it sorted sooner rather than later, or need to kind of switch to some other targets and bring them in before we kind of lose out a little bit. Or maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself and getting a bit agitated. I don't know.
What's your gut feeling? Does he sign or not?
No,
genuine gut feeling. Yeah.
No, I don't think he does. That's my feeling. I feel like if he were going to sign, why is it taking this long? Why is it taking now to the 15th of July for him not to sign his new deal? I thought the Windass one was rumbling on for a bit too long, if I'm being honest. This is he's now a free agent. Surely it was beneficial for him to be training with the team and going to St George's last week and integrating with everyone else. I really don't know what the hold up is. Whether he's just holding out for a better deal, which he's more than entitled to do. We didn't offer him a longer deal than a year. I presume that was on our side and not his. Surely any player would want to sign a longer deal than just a year. Yeah. Maybe he's kind of sticking two fingers up at us and saying, "Well, I'm going to make you sweat a little bit. If you want to sign me, then I'm just going to make you wait and wait and wait." But I don't know. I don't know if we have to just change his tact a little bit and go for someone else, because there's that worry that the season starts and then if we haven't got Deschamps Bernard, we have to bring someone else in to replace him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a key week for the Deschamps Bernard thing. I could understand all of this not signing were he not posting workouts from grungy sheds that are clearly in England. Like, there's no way that anybody mistake those warehouses for outside of the UK, because there was not a jot of sunshine. And it looked just gloomy and horrible, like from the little clips of the door. So he's clearly in the country. Granted, they might be saved from before the season, so it just makes it look like he's working hard. It might be a great PR spin, but I think that seems unlikely.
No.
I could understand it if he had flown straight from the Copa America to Jamaica and this was his first week back in the country and he was just deciding to, I can now, I'm now going to get myself back into shape and blah, blah, blah. I think if we haven't signed him by this week, I think you can still leave a contract offer there, but I do think you have to go out and start acting. And I know the club will be doing this, but you have to actively start moving on other targets, because one of the huge things that we have all said has been great about this window is that Danny Rowe has got his business done early and he's working with the players who he has wanted to work with. Even the ones that took time, Josh Windass, Dominic Iorfa, they were offered contracts. There was a lot of back and forth in terms of the deals. There was a lot of, this person's getting married, this person's on holiday, this is this. But it was all done and relatively sorted really quickly within that first week of coming back. Deschamps Bernard finished the Copa America on the end of that first week back, if I'm not mistaken. He's now been back a week and it looks like he's not actually taking a break and he's just gone training. I'm assuming he's not waiting for the school holidays to go off on holiday. He's not that young. He's not Lamine Yamal, who's still waiting on his GCSE results.
Yeah.
I can't understand the hold up other than he must be also exploring options or trying to get more money or more years, more incentives, things inserted into a contract, which is totally his right to do. And if he was not doing that, I'm sure we'd all be calling him stupid, because every single one of us would be doing so. But as a club, do we need to move on? I think if by the end of this week he has not put pen to paper, I think we actively need to be moving on other transfer targets at centre-half.
Yeah, I have a list of all the transfer rumours that have been flying around and everything else. And looking at it, there's 4 defenders on that list. One's Jan Valery, another one is Max Lowe, who we've signed both of them. The other one that I don't know how much of a rumour this was. This was really, really early on. Was Charlie? Is it Good or Good? Charlie Good from Brentford.
Yeah.
That was very, very early on. And then the other one was kind of this weekend, but it went as quickly as it came. Really, in Michael Nardet. I think I've said his name right. The French lad who apparently now wants to stay in France. So, but other than that, there's not many, and you look in other positions, a lot of forwards, a lot of wingers. I mean, we've signed pretty much all of them, to be fair, that we've been linked with. But yeah, in terms of defenders, we haven't really been linked with many either. Maybe because we weren't really looking that intently, because maybe everyone thought that we were just going to sign Deschamps Bernard and we'd be sorted in that regards. But yeah, I do agree in that we perhaps need to, as fans as well, just kind of think, well, actually, that's done. And if he does sign, it's great, it's a bonus. But yeah, my hunch, I thought it were all done and sorted at one point.
Yeah. As did everybody with the Jamaica flags and the eyes.
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I really thought that was all sorted. The time frames kind of worked with with the Copa America and everything else. And then now that the silence is deafening, and I just I'd be annoyed as well, because I feel like he is a Danny Röhl player. I know he didn't bring him in, but he is that player that would suit the way that Danny Röhl likes to play. He's a ball playing centre back. He's not a Michael Ehekwa at all, and he's he's much better than Bambo Diaby. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that one, really.
He's the right age as well, isn't he? Like, he's the right age.
It's a great age.
It's a great age. I was going to go Soccer AM reference. Great age. He's a really good age. If you sign him to a longer than a year deal, let's say a 3-year deal, you've guaranteed some resell. Like, you are guaranteed to make, I would say you get your money back on him because he's free. Like, you're guaranteed to make some profit even if you sell him in a year, because he's gone on to be incredibly successful, and somebody's come in and bid for him from a top end championship team, and we finished mid table, and he wants to go, and he's inserted a contract into him. Whatever, that would all make a lot of sense. But again, I always feel when there's complete and utter radio silence coming out of a club, and anything to do with a player, and then anything to do with any of the rumours surrounding it. In the world of Sheffield Wednesday, complete and utter silence is nowadays not great. Complete and utter silence in the world of Wednesday used to be the way that we did business. In terms of signings, would just spring up out of nowhere. But this just feels a little bit like, I think potentially the player might be looking and speaking to other clubs, which is his prerogative 100%. And if it was going to get done, I would have thought it would have been done within this week. And if it's not done by this week, I think you've got to start actively moving on others.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's been linked anywhere else either.
No.
So, it's not like you think, he's in talks with insert club here, or anything like that. So that is the only thing that I'm holding on to, is that it's just silent across the board. Whether he's got a fantastic agent that doesn't leak anything, or there's just no offers elsewhere.
I mean, I'd say it's a terrible agent if he's not leaking anything, because that's how you drum up interest. My question is, I suppose, we all know he's quality. I would argue he's almost like the best kept secret in the Championship, in terms of, unless you've watched us, you don't know he's good. Like, no, I'm sure there will be players out there who know he's good, but there aren't going to be fan bases and fan accounts that are randomly linking Deschamps Bernard to Middlesbrough or wherever. That just isn't going to happen for him as a player. I just wonder whether because we didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, James, the year before, there was no real mountains of knowledge of us signing him. He just came in, didn't he, with that beaming smile in the training gear, just sat at Middlewood Road. Yeah. And it was like none of us knew what we'd let ourselves in for and how good he was going to be. It strikes me that he would just, all of a sudden, you'd just see him posted in a Coventry shirt. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'd just be stood there with a shirt up like that, and you'd just be thinking, how has that happened? And everybody just goes into full-scale meltdown.
Yeah, it's funny, again, looking at his data as well. You know what? He doesn't stand out as being amazing, which I suppose is that when people say just use your eyes, I suppose it works in this instance. So maybe that is why he's perhaps going under the radar a little bit, because he's kind of just middle of the road for everything other than passes blocked. That's the only thing that he's ranking high on. Errors is well down. Like, he's saying that he does make quite a few errors, but then again, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. 'Cause he's playing in a side that, for the first, obviously he was there from the start and he's played all this season. In a side that didn't win a game for 13 games, so it's not gonna. That's definitely not going to help you in terms of the numbers and stuff like that. So. Like I said, my hunch is he's not going to sign, which would be a massive, massive shame, really. Another comment from Lee, he said, I suspect high wages for some players and new ones. Where is DC suddenly getting all of his money from? Kind of ties in a little bit to the reports coming out in French media that apparently we'd spent... 25 million on Jan Valery or whatever it was. I think it was 2 million euros. I think it was that was reported, and then the Star was very, very quick to shut that down. I think they put an extra note on the end. £400,000 is what we'd apparently spent on him, which probably sounds more right, to be fair, than the 2 million. To Lee's question, where's DC suddenly getting the money from? And before we answer that, actually, I see a lot of people saying this. DC's throwing the money around, he's backing the manager and everything else. Correct me if I'm wrong, we're just replacing the players that we've released, and we haven't replaced all of them yet in terms of numbers, and obviously we don't know what the wages are. I suspect the wages are, for the players that we brought in are going to be slightly higher than the ones that we've left. I think, Backinson wasn't going to be on a great deal of money, but you might be surprised. I don't think we're spending as much money as what some people certainly think. But if we are, where is he getting his money from, I guess?
It's a good question. I mean, I've got absolutely no shred of evidence, and I suppose I know some people in the fan base will have particular feelings about them. I suppose the 1867 group are the group who you are better off speaking to about investments surrounding the club and the running of the club rather than myself. I think I would look at it and say that there is 100%. It screams of there is either somebody else pumping some money in somewhere, which wouldn't surprise me. There are lots of clubs that have been owned by people from Thailand, Indonesia, that part of the world where there are lots of silent partners and lots of silent investors, and you'll never know because that's just the way in which the business is run. If you look at, I know it all went Pete Tong at Birmingham City, but Birmingham City was run like that for years in terms of just loads of people just investing into the club for no apparent reason or no gain other than just to, I think what it became in Birmingham City's case was just to move money through the club. The other thing is he has not spent any money for a good number of years, and I personally am not a huge believer of the facts and figures that come out of his mouth. I think he plays fast and loose with how much he invariably spends compared to the figures that are actually quoted by people like the Price of Football and all of the statistical data that's out there. I think he plays fast and loose with how much money he spends, how much money he loses. I think he catastrophizes everything when it comes to this is how much I'm putting in and this is how much is this.
Yeah,
£400,000 for a championship player is not a ridiculous amount of money. £400,000 for a right back or left back in the division is a more than reasonable fee for a player. We're not talking the heady days of 15 million for like Ross McCormack and stuff like that. That's stupid. That ship sailed. But 400 grand for a championship player is, you are still shopping in bargain basement here. Like in terms of prices, players I'm not discrediting the players. I'm talking about the prices that we are paying for people. It is cheap for this division.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact. Well, you mentioned we haven't spent a great deal of money in a while. Did you see in the Discord chat I put people to guess the top 10 transfer fees paid? Did you see that at all in there?
No, I didn't. Great. Sorry, Joe. It's been last week.
That's great because I'm going to quiz you on it. I always try and test you on some Wednesday knowledge every single week. So top 10 transfer fees paid. Give you a clue. 5 of them. This is according to Transfer Market again. I'm not claiming to know this information or that it's indeed correct, but we'll say it is for the purpose of this segment of the show. Five of them, yeah, 5 of them are in the 90s, and 5 are in the 2010s as well. So can you name any of the top 10?
Ross McCormack has got to be one.
No, he's not according to this anyway.
In the Championship, Ross McCormack.
No, sorry, for Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh my God, I was about to say in the Championship. I can guarantee you.
I'm thinking I've never signed Ross McCormack.
Our top transfers coming in. Okay, Di Canio.
Di Canio. No, he's not. How much was Di Canio?
Don't know.
No, he's not on there. Go on, the top one is obvious.
Oh, Jordan Rhodes.
Jordan Rhodes is the top one, yeah.
Alman Abdi.
He's 10th on the list at 3.6 million euros. 3 million.
That is mental. Joos van Aken.
He was 13th on the list at 2.7 million.
So where was all these £4 million figures that were quoted around the time of him signing? Now we're struggling.
Little Italian or Argentinian, whichever one you know.
Forestieri,
yeah, 3.5 million he was.
He was 3.5. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I'll go through the list. Adam Reach was 5 million. He was second. Benito Carbone back in 1996, 4.3. Gilles de Bilder in 99, 4.2. This is the one that I always forget ever played for us. I mean, mid-90s. Darko Kovacevic.
Okay. Was Alexanderson somewhere on this list as well?
No, he wasn't, no. Andy Hinchcliffe was, back in 97, 3.7 million. Forestieri, as I mentioned. Gary Hooper, 3.2, apparently.
I'd pay that all over again.
Yeah, and then Andy Booth back in 1996. Just shows how far the club's come, doesn't it? That Andy Booth is our 9th biggest transfer fee paid in history, which is mental. And then Alman Abdi, as you've mentioned, there's a lot of players in the 90s just outside of the top 10 as well, which a lot of those are like chasing signings as well. Not a lot of those are kind of like good squad building signings, are they? A lot of those are chasing to stay in the division signings. Chef Kikuchi, 1.5 million from Stockport back in 2001, 2002. We were blessed, weren't we, back then?
I was just about to say, do you know what? That's an actual shame because he actually went on to have a half-decent Premier League career with Blackburn. It's almost like with when you reel off some of those names, it's either we caught them past their peak or we missed the beginning of their. Do you know what I mean? Like we either caught them too early or too late. It's you're naming Forestieri, and that's it. Who we've actually caught, maybe Carboni as well. 2 players out of that 10 who we've actually caught in their peak prime, and we've got some good years out of them. Yeah. Everybody else, it's kind of like you sit and think, didn't really get any return for that, did we?
No, I mean, there's some horrendous names on this list when you look back. We spent apparently $1 million on Francis Jeffers.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Stevie May's another one. That was $1 million. Do you know what? We signed him. I thought he was going to be world beater when we signed him. I felt, coming from this, because obviously in the past we'd signed a lot of players from Scotland, from the Scottish leagues that have done well, and you think he's just going to be another one of them, and he just really wasn't, was he? He was awful.
And I mean, just going back to that kind of like what we're being quoted as spending on. 400,000 for a wing back in the division. I genuinely wonder, and I doubt you'll be able to find it now, where that would rank in terms of like either market value or transfer fees actually paid in the division for a wing back and transfer in the last, 24 months, because that can't be high, surely. That doesn't sound high for a wing back in this division, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it just looks like, if you were trying to sign someone that's in contract, it just sounds like that
a fee
that you just pay, that you just go, just pay 400 grand. Oh yeah, I'll pay that. That's fine. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like there's any thought gone into it or anything like that. I am just frantically trying to find some
Whilst
numbers,
we're doing that, James, whilst we're doing that, I will ask you then the question of what other positions do we need to strengthen in? What other positions on the football pitch do we actually need aside from a centre back? Because we've talked about this Sean Bernard. So, like, what positions do we need to go out and actually sign? Because that squad's not complete yet, is it?
We need some depth in that central midfield, 100%.
Yeah.
I know we've brought in Shalabar, but we've got literally Shalabar and Bannon in that middle of the park, which, all right, you could argue Palmer could slot in there, but we spoke about last week or the week before that it's not his best role, and I think Jordan's hit the nail on the head there. We do need a striker. Like, as much as we've brought in Charlie McNeil, if we can land on Ikogbo, I think that would be great. That would I'd be happy with that. But or if it's not Ikogbo, we need someone else. Really, I think it's very naive of us going into this season in the Championship where everyone's thinking that we can finish, or certainly challenge for the playoffs, to be starting the season with, your two strikers being, 20 years old. I think we're asking a lot of them, especially when they're both, all right, Cadamartri scored in this league. We've seen that already last season. But for them to both be like, right, you're going to be the two strikers that we're going to be looking to score all the goals. Yeah, I think we definitely need another striker somewhere that can do that with a bit more experience. 24, 25-year-old, diamond in the rough, as Danny was saying in that recent report that's come out in the Star. What about yourself?
I agree with you on centre midfield. I think you've got Chalobah, you've got Bannon, you've got Ingelsson, and I wouldn't want to see for any length of period of time Patterson or Palmer playing as a centre midfielder. I wouldn't want to see either of those two playing there consistently. I do think you need a forward. I think you're going to have to wait a little bit if you want Ike Ugbo back, personally. I think he's going to have options. I think his parent club, I've said this a number of times, I think his parent club are going to hold out. I think they're going to be there for a while holding out as well. I don't understand, if you were in their position, why you wouldn't, because there'll be a lot of Championship interest. There'll be a lot of interest from not only ourselves, but there's been reported Premier League interest in him as well. I'm not sure I buy that. He's definitely not going to be top-end Premier League interest in him, but he's got all of the he was at Chelsea as a kid. He's got all of the hallmarks of a Premier League striker. He's just perhaps not found the right fit. I've just noticed that in the chat, Jordan had wrote about Duncan Maguire. That was a player who we were in for in January, who was reported to be very interested and very keen in coming to Sheffield Wednesday. Went to Blackburn because we couldn't stump up the money. I'm not... Aside from that, I think a centre half is a must. Even if we were to bring in Sean Bernard, I think you need another. I'm also interested to get your opinion on where are the outgoings, because there's got to be somewhere. Someone's got. Currently, I think there's some squad players where this is maybe looking a little bloated. There's a lot of turnover, and I'm conscious of it not becoming like a huge revolving door. Say you got to get rid of two players. Who are the two?
Michael Smith, I think, will be one. Just kind of back to your earlier point, I feel like there is someone out there that would take him on. That would be one of them. It's tricky, isn't it? Because we've signed. I think maybe a loan for someone as well would work. It'd have to be a loan where they're paying the wages as well, because if not, it's almost like no real point. Well, there is a point if it's to get them game time and everything else. But if you're moving them on in order to facilitate someone else coming in, because we're cash strapped, then that doesn't really work. But yeah, like kind of I mean, Pierce Charles will. I don't really count him, because I don't really count him as a squad player yet, even though he kind of will be. I suppose, yeah, a Cadamartri or the McNeil. There's too many Mooks flying around. Yeah, or McNeil going out on loan, because you look at it, and as much as I'm saying we need a striker, like there isn't really a number 9. I don't think McNeil is a number 9. Cadamartri's not a number 9 either. we might even not be playing with a number 9, but if we that proven goal scorer that we're looking for, there's a lot of players that just play as a forward. There's a lot of players that can play in that position, and you can only play 2, 3 at max. When you look at it, so there's going to be some people that are going to be missing out. It's to who's that going to be, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of movement, between now and the start of the season. Let's not forget, we've only signed one player on loan. Yeah. Most of that work happens at the end of the transfer window. Now it could be that we're just, I've got transfer deadline day pending or penciled in, should I say? Doing the live stream.
Not again. We're not doing that again. Sat there with blooming Jeff Hendrick and Will Buckley coming through the door. Not doing that again. I'm sure Jem will remember that from being sat on that blooming live for 4 hours for a signing that we all knew was going to be made that didn't get announced until busted in 11:05.
But look, it could all be cancelled because we could have got his work done, early. So
wouldn't that be great? Genuinely, wouldn't that be great? Where literally the day before they all come out and they go, "Danny, any incomings?" And he goes, "Nope, only outgoings." Oh my God, how wonderful would that feel? Like literally, he just goes, "Nope, only outgoings. Our business is done. Close shop now."
Yeah, business done before the first game of the season. It looks like that's what he's trying to do anyway. Certainly, 9 signings already before the middle of July is absolutely. Yeah, unheard of at Sheffield 6. Do you think anyone's going to be leaving?
Malik Wilkes.
Wilkes is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Malik Wilkes. I think he's
the forgotten man.
I think he's the odd one out when the music stopped. In terms of, I spoke about him quite heavily. I can't remember whether it was last week or the week before. Speaking of heavy, Jesus, he's chucking it down here.
Do you know what? I'm thinking this like a bit of a hiss. I was looking now at the sound thing. Is that some interference? But no.
It's biblical rain coming down in Birmingham. They're clearly trying to wash away every sins of everybody who lives there. Jesus Christ! I think Malik Wilkes he's the odd one out when the music stops in terms of the chair. I think you've got Jamal Lowe, you've got Jeddy Gassama, you've got Anthony Masaba. You have then got Paul Valentin who can play forward. You have then got Josh Windass who can play in that wider position. You've got Jamal Lowe. I think there's a lot of competition for 2 positions. I would like to see him go. Again, I still think there's a player in there. I just don't think it's ever going to be here. The other one I would like to see, again, not because I don't think they're a good enough player. I agree with you on the Pierce Charles loan. I think he's got to go. Yeah. He's got to go and have a year's football. I think the other one who I would like to see, it's one of the two, and it's one of the 2 Rotherham lads in terms of I would either like it to be either Ihekwa or Michael Smith, because I think both of them have got things to offer, but I think both of them are squad players here. And I think if they are a squad player here, it leaves everybody with a bit of a sour taste in the mouth, both player and fans, in terms of, like when Michael Smith gets brought on, everybody's going, "Oh, well, why are you bringing Smith on? He's not going to score." And when Ihekwa starts, do you remember around Christmas when he got brought back in? And everybody, he had that game away at Preston, and everybody was like, it was the second coming of Jesus, because everybody was like, "Oh my God, I remember he can defend, he can head everything." Because he had just been a total forgotten man after that mistake that he made up at Hull. He'd been completely bombed out of it. And I did feel really, really sorry for him. He was obviously brought back in for Huddersfield, but then he became a bit part player again under Danny. Yeah. I think there is a market for him. Whether it's bottom end Championship, whether it's top end League One, I do definitely think that there is a market for a player like him, still with years, where similar to Will Volks, Wednesday get a fee for him, nominal fee. He goes and gets another 2-year deal with an option elsewhere, somewhere where he can legitimately finish it. Oh, this sounds so old. Fuck them, they're the 6 fingers up the road. Barnsley, there is nothing to say that he doesn't go there, play for another 2-3 years and really enjoy his football and see his career out. Nothing to say that he doesn't do that. And I personally wouldn't begrudge either him or Smith moving on. I think, Will, again, I've spoke extensively on Malik Wilkes. I think it makes perfect sense for him to look for a move.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to before we kind of wrap things up, reading out the squad as it stands at the moment, it's Ben Hamer and James Beadle as the goalkeepers, and of course Pierce Charles. Then when you look in terms of defensive options that we've got, then you've got, let's have a look, Max Lowe, Jan Valery, Michael Ehekwe, Akin Famewo, Dominic Iofa, Marvin Johnson has to be put in that bracket as well, Paul Valentin, Liam Palmer and Bambo Diarby. Like, there's a lot of defenders there. Obviously not a lot of centre-backs, but there's a lot of...
It's not, is there?
a lot of wing-backs and full-backs in that wing. You've got to say Akin Famewo is a centre-back, Michael Ehekwe, Dom Iofa and Bambo Diarby. There's 4 players there looking for 2, maybe possibly 3 positions. Middle of the park, you've got Shalabar, Ingleson, which I forgot about, and Barry Bannon. Wingers, Olaf Kabake, Jamal Lowe, Malik Wilkes, Jerry Gassama, and Anthony Masaba. Again, you could potentially put Windass in that bracket, but I feel like he's more of a forward. And if you look at those, as I've called them, forwards, Charlie McNeil, Michael Smith, Josh Windass, Kadamatre, and Callum Patterson as well. So, yeah, there's not many... I said there isn't many strikers there. We definitely need something in the middle of the park. You could argue that Marvin Johnson, Liam Palmer potentially could play midfield, but Johnson isn't playing centre mid. He's playing out wide, isn't he? So yeah, still a lot of work to be done. I feel, but glad that the bulk of it is already done and sorted. You know what I mean? It would be very worried. I mean, on that, have you seen? Is it Morecambe? They just signed 15 players in one go. I don't know if you know if you saw that or not. Yeah, they've literally their squad is decimated. I think there was an infographic this morning, I think it was, and it showed you how much of last season's squad have teams kept as a percentage.
I saw that. Yeah,
Morecambe's is 4.5% or something. Wow. They've literally got rid of everyone.
Wow, that must have been a terrible season. Just while we're talking about transfers of other clubs, I mean, I'm sure everybody at Sheffield Wednesday has kind of wished him success. George Byers at Port Vale. Yeah. I genuinely am baffled that a League One side, top end League One side, has not taken a punt on him and given him an offer. I know Port Vale may have made a very attractive proposition to him, and I think him wanting to be loved by a manager again and feel that kind of that complete and utter trust, it is a huge factor in the move. I do not see any other outcome apart from, unless Port Vale's pitch is like a beach when it was when we played down there. I genuinely do not see a world where he's not League Two Player of the Season next year. He's an unbelievable footballer who is doing Port Vale. This sounds horrible to Port Vale. He's doing Port Vale a favour by going and dropping that low. The contract is great, but he's far too good a footballer for League Two.
He's gone there for the gaffer.
Yeah,
he's gone there in a time where he can just he knows the manager. He goes in, he knows exactly what he's going to get. I'm sure he's going to play week in, week out, and yeah, I mean
probably captain as well. Again, it's just I think that also speaks. Darren Moore has had a lot of stick, and we've all moved on from it. That is a huge mark of how influential a manager Darren Moore was on those players from that particular promotion era's career, that one of them, who is in his prime, really, football in prime, is willing to drop all the way down to League Two to play consistent, regular first-team football at a club where, I mean, don't get me wrong, I thought Port Vale was a really, really enjoyable away day. I know when Wednesday turned up anywhere at that kind of level, it was very much like a Champions League fixture for them in terms of like Shrewsbury and stuff like that. Yeah. And this isn't me doing a disservice to Port Vale in terms of the size of the club compared to ours. Is the comparison is really demonstrous, but it is. Yeah, I just thought it was worthwhile mentioning that I think everybody at Wednesday will surely wish him all the success in the world. Because great footballer.
100% have to agree with that. And I was shocked to see that he was dropping down to League Two. To be fair, when I saw it, but clearly Port Vale have got a bit of coin to spend. I think Darren Moore's on a 5-year deal that he signed. So yeah, we'll. Wish him all of the best. Right, let's let's wrap things up then. Let's call it a day there. Like I said, no more England chat from this point moving forward. It's all steam ahead for that first game against Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, of course, in little under 4 weeks' time. If you enjoyed listening and you want to listen to more of this content, then do make sure you become a member of over on Patreon. Patreon.com/WTID pod is where you need to go for that. That's where you're going to find extra time, which we're about to record, as well as the Discord chat to join all the other like-minded Wednesdayites to chat about the Owls throughout the week. A reminder that you can catch us on YouTube, X and Twitter Spaces on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. If you're around, we'll be getting your thoughts on the goings-on at Sheffield 6 with the debate show, so make sure you join us for that one. Just want to say thank you for listening, and we'll be with you, I said, on Wednesday evening. Cheers, guys.